Still. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the journey. Around the world in 80 events tonight, it's going to be a storytelling spectacle. It's going to be something that you'll never expect. We're not here to talk just about around the world in 80 events, something that I took on in my journey in 2019, but actually it's going to be an adventure, a dream for you to go and live. In your mind and your heart, we're going to go on a story. We're going to see different things, be adventurous in what we can achieve as we take a story of around the world in 80 events and talk about it on a stage that was built in 3 hours. But that is the fringe. We all start somewhere. And somewhere for me was always this dream. If you're here for comedy, that was the joke. My name is Matthew. I went to 80 events in 26 countries in 2019. I adventured around the world. I met 164 different organisations and people, and all of these people loved listening to me. But that's the thing about living your dream. You never know where it takes you. You never know that journey. So tonight I want to introduce you to that journey and think about your own dream and your own adventure as we start the journey tonight. I think that might be people coming on stage. More chairs, Leo. Forgot to say, in here is the most important thing. It's my travel diary. Every time this box opens, this holds the thoughts and memories that I collected along the way. This will allow us to be part of this journey. So let us begin on this adventure. And let me just make sure I'm recording this, because I need one good recording. So that means that you can clap really loud and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, great, thanks. Welcome to the journey. It's time to explore. This flight's ready to take off, and metaphorically closed is the door. We will adventure and meander to 35,000 feet and go on an adventure to meet and hear stories and people along the way. Please ensure phones are on silent, pictures are okay. Tray tables upright, sunset is going away. As the sun sets to the other side of the world, we go on this adventure. We twirl around the world in 80 events. Make sure if you have baggage, the baggage is overhead stored. Because instead you came on this journey to explore this adventure, this dream. This dream that for me was a scribble of paper, that later would be a picture of me standing with a bag, standing tall with memories. Page by page, this diary will take us back, to take us forward, to take us through our dreams as we live in this world that's complicated, that we always need to have goals that can be captured in a bag to become a story that's told through time. Frantically, my adventure was always in this fast track lane, but tonight this pace will be calm to take you on a journey, calm to take you on an adventure, calm to take a story on this dream. When I planned this, it lay on a table. It didn't look much. It didn't mean much as such. Dot by dot, line by line. The dream was sublime, I thought. But really, I could not imagine what it was going to be. Suddenly, this dream, what was I meant to see? The people I met on this journey. I should have mentioned, if there's an emergency, don't leave your dream. Just find a diversion. Find a diversion to reach your destination. But in all seriousness, if the alarm does go, please go that way. But the dream that we have is that a passion will burn inside of you, burn inside like embers of a fire that will burn with factors that can be your desire, but also who will you inspire with your dream? Who will you inspire with your dream? What change will you have in your life? And as your captain speaking, I say to you, all risks in life are that you take to seek rewards. So now join me. Join me on this dream, yet thunderous it may be, but sweet. So sweet it can be in the result of a destination that you dreamt to achieve. And now it's time for your flight. Welcome to the journey. It's funny, when I went in 2019, before I went to a conference in 2018 in London, and a guy said to me, so what are you doing? And I said, I'm going around the world in 8 events, and he laughed in my face. And I kind of was taken back, and he said, why would you ever want to go around the world in 8 events? And I said, well, it's my dream. It's what I want to do. And that's the thing about dreams. They're laughed at, they're joked at. And some people don't realise what dreams can really be. They can be something that an individual and a person can have so much attention that they pay on it. I literally, for years, was seeking out these moments, and I was writing all the time about this journey that I wrote. And I remember I was telling everyone, I never knew what it was going to be, but that's the excitement of living your dream. So now I would like you, with the pen and paper that I provided on the chair, I'll get you some, don't worry. I'll even get you a chair. Everyone wave, hi, hi. Welcome to the journey. I am going to get everyone to write your dream. So I would like you to write whatever your dream is in life. It doesn't need to be extravagant. It doesn't need to be big and like around the world in 81 events or 90. But it can be something for you that you want to achieve. Now, please don't put your name on this bit of paper. I'm not going to read them out either, but please just keep them anonymous. Okay? And now, I'm going to give you 1 minute to write your dream. There's one. Have you got one? Yeah, that's right. Well, if you want to change, just let us know, right? Liam gets it. Sorry? So now, once you've written your dream, I want you to fold it once and just keep it. So keep your dream with you the now. In life we have many moments that become memories. And that's the next chapter on this in-flight entertainment. I went to many cities. One of the cities I went to was Detroit. Detroit was a very broken city. It's a city that has a lot of plight and poverty. It's a city that has a lot of hope. Every time I tell this story, I get goosebumps. Detroit, for me, was a city I was actually told, don't go to. And I was told don't go to because people thought I was wasting my time. But wasting my time was part of my journey, because once I used my time, I got to decide if I was wasting it. But actually, there was not one part of the journey that I wasted. Instead, I got to see and feel moments of Detroit. On this luggage, I wrote a note, and it went like this. In my bag is a map, but in my heart is a navigation to take me places, to meet faces, sometimes engage in facial expression, sometimes to engage in a physical hug once I got to know them. Sometimes I got to connect with them, engage with them. Sometimes I got to understand their life, their journey. Sometimes I got to tell them about mine. As suddenly I would say, Event 21, and suddenly they run the Penis Festival. If you're here for comedy, that's the joke. The Penis Festival, I would show on a PowerPoint presentation 437 photos of 80 events as people on a bus or a train would get off 5 stops early. But on a plane, they had nowhere to go. As I would flow through a PowerPoint presentation, these moments. And as I wrote, I was living a dream, a bizarre individual they said I was, but really I was just this kid from Glasgow that grew knowing I was going to live something so sweet, not knowing who I was going to meet, not knowing the journey I was going to go on, sing this solid song, be this melody all of the journey long. In this short life, we have these moments that we capture, triggered as our soul by certain things that we never know why when they become this moment. Factors that influence it, they lock it in our mind through time and in our heart. But where do we start to capture these memories? Where do we start from capturing these moments? A moment that is triggered with certain ingredients and factors that influence the decision of whether the mind and the heart locks it in. Like my time in Detroit, a city that sits in the state of Michigan. I arrive and I go to an event 64, where I arrive at the door of the Detroit Eastern After Dark Markets, and suddenly there is a man from the inner city of Detroit who wears this pristine white tracksuit with 30 National Basketball League teams printed upon it, with the brightest of Adidas shoes, as suddenly he moves. He moves in a way I can only explain as a celebration, a spectacle. He is louder than the fashion that he has. He moves on this dance floor that is illuminated by hired-in lights. Hired-in lights that are in a concrete corridor of an abandoned shed. The overhead, I look thinking years of misery have ruined the roof as we are there, dancing on this Wednesday evening. My eyes cannot disconnect, I write, from the presence that he has created, I write. It's as if he has waited his whole life to show this community who dance, show this community who have lost all hope, to be like a Christmas card, to open the envelope on Christmas Eve with the excitement inside and arrive at a possibility of knowing that they can dance together again without thinking about the pain that the city has went through the years. And as I walk through the city, my eyes have been widened, broadened, as different communities of Detroit join this man as they dance. A chance for a possibility be as one. What started as a small two-step is now a shuffle. And what is now a shuffle is now this celebratory moment. A moment that they hold in their heart. A moment that they hold dear. The amplification I write of the PA system I write to encourage and move a community groove and energy. But the desecration of the horizon of the city that I see flat is the land. Emptiness is the soul that they never know when it's going to return. The dance now upon us is symbolized by hope. The dance is not because of the music, but by this man. This man who took a chance, a dance he had. A city that he has came from is broken. But as I wrote, the dance is not because of the music, but due to the feeling that is within the souls of these people who are living in this desecrated city, a freedom. A freedom. That's all that they want. That's all that they need to drive forward and see the future of Detroit. As I walked around, I saw a city with broken glass on the windows of 19,000 homes. Homes they were, houses they are. These buildings lying far from what they had seen in the past. They blow the curtains that keep the looters at bay. As the wind sweeps off of Lake St. Clair, they wait. The houses that is for these bulldozers to take away a community that was hustling and bustling. And X marks the destroyed community as the city is broken. As the city sits still on its knees as neglect. I'm told that mismanagement has taken its toll on a city that was once thriving for a dance, now asking for a chance. Flat as the land, but this man has this event in the palm of his hand. He allows a community to climb up the mountain and say, we are here. This is our chance. A soul was reforming, but yet being limited by the mismanagement of the council, I'm told, taking its toll. Artistically, the music and the moments were what we begin to see and know. But this man, he danced 9 p.m. to 11 o'clock, never stopping. The man had a moment, and this moment was captured in my heart on my journey. This is that man. I know it's a small photo. I couldn't get a frame big enough. And I've smashed this one, so just as well. Thank you very much. That was comedy. This man danced all night long, like Lionel Richie. Again, a joke. It's fine. Thank you. It's my last night. You know what? I may as well go out all guns blazing. And this man danced all night long. Please don't tell him that I've wrote him a poem about him, just in case he asks for copyright. But he went round every single person, and he literally created a buzz and a feeling of community. And his rhythm was just spectacular. And that's something I'll never forget. So now what I would like you to do is fold up your bits of paper once and then put them in the bowl. But just before you do, I'm just going to run and ask them to turn that music a wee bit down, because I'm hearing it and I'm singing along in my head. They did say to me they were going to turn it down. So 2 seconds, I'll be back. Don't go anywhere.
Do you want me to like the rooms?
Hi, Catherine. Catherine's seen the show 3 times, so she knows what's
I know
happening.
that's part.
I'll let you just. There you go. Thanks very much. Oh, thanks.
So now in this bowl that Catherine collected your dreams with is all of your dreams. We're now all in this journey together. And I think when you think about that, each of you don't know each other. A few of you do, and you've came together. But most of you don't know what your dream is. And that's the beautiful thing about going on a journey. You never know what someone's living, someone's dream that they have. So now I would like to introduce you to the spine-tingling moments. I want to take you to Mumbai, a beautiful city that I went to. And I went to see cricket. And I want to show you the complications it was having a ticket to cricket. Say that one like a mouthful, eh? 11 days and I've got it right. There we go. But I really want for you to understand what it was like going to a cricket match in the middle of Mumbai. A spine-tingling moment. Something that you understand when you put yourself into a place, a location that you never actually understand in the first place unless you've watched Sunday Sport, Sky Sports that is, at 8:30, where they explain all these different sports that are minority to you. Except in Scotland, we've won cricket once when we beat England, so therefore we're world champions. But for me, I knew nothing about 4 and 6 and ball and bat and lawn. But I thought I knew the sport. So I went along as part of my journey. I went along to put myself into this journey, this adventure. But when I got to Mumbai, my legs were hanging off of the train as the city flies by. A box of fish thrown on the carriage, half dead, eyes gobbling. Going to the stadium we were. Going to the stadium was us. A stadium that was huddled around this field. This field that was this journey for 80,000 people and me. I knew nothing about the sport, but I wanted to see as part of my journey what it was. Millions upon millions watched on a TV screen around the city and around the country. Mumbai Indians. They watched this sport, the IPL. They watched something that was a celebration with flamethrowers, cheerleaders. Something in the stadium that was for VIPs. Outside of the stadium was individuals who just couldn't get in. So for me, I wanted to begin to explaining that the moment that was tingling was not in the stadium, but was in the hotel. When a bellboy came to my room, he said, "Sir, why do you come here to Mumbai?" I said, "For the cricket." He said with glee, his eyes wide open, "Have you got a ticket?" I said, "Yes." Suddenly he leaves the room to the reception. He runs fast. He runs so fast that suddenly when I look out the corridor, I look out and I see more bellboys coming. Friend by friend, 5 bellboys now stand in my room. "Sir, you're going to the cricket?" I said, "Yes." "Have you got a ticket?" I said, "Yes." For me, it was just part of my journey, event to event. I went constantly. But for them, there was this comprehension of understanding how difficult it was to get a ticket in the first place, to now know someone was standing with a ticket. Standing with an envelope. The Mumbai Indians. This envelope was then passed by all 5 bellboys. They held it. You would have thought it was gold, a story that they were being told to their family. I held a ticket to the match. For me, I just wanted to see the cricket, to see a catch. But instead, I then realised how honoured I was to be on my journey when they were taking something so special from this envelope. Their manager came up and she explained that for them, they would never reach the gates of the stadium. They couldn't afford that ticket. There was a barrier, although it was a sport that they had in their life, a religion, something that for them meant everything. For me, it was just another event. But then, at the stadium lay a flag on my seat. And on my seat, I met Raj. Raj was this individual who introduced me to cricket. And I said, Raj, I need 10 flags. Suddenly he asks all of these people around for their flag. They just had them on the ground. But these flags weren't going in my bag. These flags the next day went to the reception. At the reception the next day, the bellboys came up to my room, tapped the door. Sir, you got us a flag? I said, for me, it would just be another possession in my bag. For them, it would be flying high on the room for the families to see. And that is the sheer joy of knowing that I could bring happiness to someone along their journey and my journey. That was the point that was tingling as I wrote. So I ask all of you on your journey, you may have moments, but what are the spine tingling moments that you capture when you put yourself into a location that you then explore even more? That was the spine tingling moments of Mumbai. I'm just going to get these people seats. 2 seconds. Want a seat? I'll get you 2 seats. No, you're fine. Don't. It's a very good show, I felt. I'm laughing. No pressure, but if you leave, then you're going to live. Okay. Now I would like you all to take a dream, a random one. I want you to make sure it's not yours firstly, and then I'm going to ask you to really read it. Really read that dream, understand that dream. Then we'll come back to this in a moment. Please don't go. Your mum's straight in there. Sure. Not yours. Cool. All good. Not yours. Not yours. Excellent. It's like you got a lot. It's like we.
I think I got yours.
You got not yours. Not yours.
It's the sort of thing you would write.
Cool.
There we go.
Yeah, I mean, don't not say no. I'm not happy with someone.
Go on, good. Yeah, not yours.
Yeah.
Really understand that dream. Take a moment to read it again. Read that dream one more time. That person is trying to achieve that. Some of you are quite nervous about this idea of sharing your dream. But you shouldn't be. Instead, you should be proud because you took the first step. The first step for me was scribbling on a bit of paper at a very boring marking lecture where I sat bored and then I wrote this word, the sentence. And then I knew I was going to be on the BBC. And then I knew I was going to be the next Louis Theroux. And I knew I was going to be this dream maker, and I was going to be famous. And I knew I was going to end up on a stage with pallets around me. I got one of them right. But the one thing that I always got right is I followed that dream. That person that wrote that dream will be following their dream. And that's the important message. I now want to talk about possessions. We live in a very materialistic society. I'm very fashionable. I'm all about the fashion. Those that know me know that that's a lie. But what I am is understanding the difference of possessions. So I want to now introduce you to things I collected along the way. This is possessions. And it's quite funky, and it's great that it's outside because you can dance in your chair. Don't take the show away from me, alright? So last night, we're going out in a bag. It's fine. Hello, how are you? Possessions. These things that we touch, these things that we buy, these things that we look in social media as we scroll by and say, oh, I like that. These things I collected along the way, like a Mumbai flag that I flew high. Or at the Penis Festival, a lolly, a bit dysfunctional. Or a snow globe. A snow globe that had glass and water in it until 2 weeks ago from Talia Hall in Chicago, until I went around a roundabout a wee bit too fast and it smashed. Or a shirt. A shirt that I wear with pride. A story. All these things I can touch, all these things that I can show people. I can open a museum. They were in my bag. These things were in my bag and I carried them around. Whether it was a fridge magnet from another event. But then I started to think, what about the intangible things? What about the things that I can't touch? What about the feelings inside my mind and heart? Where did I start to collect them? They can go in my bag. What about when I stand at the finish line of the Tour de France and I stand and I dance with my hands banging on the barriers? I can't replicate that feeling. Or what about at the Penis Festival? Yeah, Penis Festival. What about the feeling I got at the Carnival of Culture? 1.2 million people singing this song all night long, 12 hours long. I can't replicate that. I can't tell people, show people. I can tell it but never copy it. I can never print off the feelings it was when I watched couples getting married at the Wedding Crashers in Denver. I can't print off that feeling and put it on the wall when I went to the San Fermin and we screamed Viva San Fermin. Feelings and emotions that are in your mind and through time grow, captured. You begin to know things, you grow. As these feelings are something you're stealing from moments that you're collecting. Possessions are not just tangible. Instead, intangible possessions can be sometimes much more important inside your head to understand how you're seeking your dream, how you're going on your journey, how you're going on this adventure, living your dream. Possessions are not just about the things that look great on social media, but possessions are the things that can grow you on your dream, on your journey, and be part of something. So what is the possessions you have on your dream tonight? So I should have mentioned, this was the bellboys of Mumbai. 5 of them in the room with the biggest smiles. And that was before I gave them the flag. So you can just imagine the amount of hugs and high fives we had afterwards. For me, these pictures are tangible items, things I can touch. The story that goes around it is even more important than that photo. And that for me is the most important thing. How do I tell that story? So in your dream, in your journey, in your adventure, how do you tell your story? How do you tell your moments? And I'm sure when you came to this show, you probably didn't expect what you were going to see. You never really knew what you were going to see. And I know a few of you were here for the wrong show that's not on yet, so thank you very much for coming. and I dragged you in. But the most important thing is that you leave here tonight with a feeling, and maybe a book, but we'll get to that in a minute. But an adventure and a dream, and something we're now going to continue. Continue, as I say to you, we go on a journey together. But journeys can be very complicated. I was very lonely at times. Give me an awe. Oh, thanks. So sarcastic. But a dream can be very lonely. You can move somewhere and you don't know anyone. And it can be scary. It can be challenging. But that's the joy of living your dream. Because you never know then who you meet, the horizons. Just like our flight tonight. I actually forgot a line that I say in the first one all the time. The horizon will be surprising. And that's what the dream should be. I was very lonely in times at Riga when I ended up in hospital. I was very lonely in times in Japan. But I wasn't ever lonely. I was seeking towards my destination. So now we have the loneliness of the journey. Things did go wrong. I could sing every James Blunt song on repeat, or Bad Day. As suddenly, I would wipe a tear away. As suddenly, when I walked along a street, hi, I would say, but no one wanted to meet. Lonely. A word in a dictionary that has a definition of remoteness. Remoteness. As I sat, at times alone. Have you ever just had one friend? One friend that's always there to the very end. One friend that's always there, always got your back constantly. My friend on this journey was this bag. This bag had me, knew me, watched me as I grew, went on a journey with me. But for me, it also had a journey that included the VIP excess baggage in Madrid, that 3 days later, it finally returned from in Milan. That wasn't the plan, to stand in a top that was sweaty. But for me, this bag had its own journey, just like I did. I had a journey. I would throw it onto a conveyor belt and say farewell, and it had all these possessions that were things I had collected along the way. And although heavy, it was never a burden. Never a burden. Instead, it would be what got me through times. Delays were great, as this bag would lay next to me and we would wait. We would wait for the boarding gate to arrive. As I would look up, this bag would be sitting by my side. Imagine, you arrive to an airport in New Zealand, the first destination you have. Your focus is around the world in 80 events. Your only dream and goal is around the world in 80 events. That's all you want to achieve. But actually, when I got to Toronto, I had so much more. 283 days later, my mind and heart was greater because I opened my mind, although still lonely through time. I asked myself questions. Who was I? Who was me? These things I see, what do they do to me? What do they make me feel and be? My soul was developed, I wrote. A character within was still lonely. I prefer to sit with an empty seat for a meal for one at a restaurant, and the other seat would be filled by the memories of this bag. Of this bag that sat telling a story over time. At events, I would sing a song. I would sing a song with 51,000 people at Blink 182, the Riot Fest in Chicago, All the small things were so loud, but for me, my voice was so quiet. So quiet because I was only invited, but yet not fully immersed in the journey of this Riot Fest, in this adventure, in this journey. It wasn't mine, this event. I merely bought a ticket, just like the cricket. I never truly knew what the event was, what the event could be. I asked myself many times, what would I have done different? Done different, I wouldn't have done anything, because loneliness allowed me to grow on this journey and go, and this bag got full of things. But these things allowed me to sing towards my dream. You're a fabulous crowd. Fabulous. So I ended up in hospital in Riga. I ended up in 4 days in I can only call it a Soviet Union camp that was these derelict buildings. And I ended up with a 12% battery on my phone. Now, have you ever tried keeping your iPhone for 4 days on 12%? No? Well, I did. Biggest achievement of my journey. But the biggest achievement was also boring the Russian doctors who didn't understand a word I said, who only spoke Russian and they didn't speak English. And I took them on a journey, as they took me. But when I looked around the room, I was lonely, it was scary. Would I be able to continue this journey in Latvia? As I did many times. So really think about you when you go on your journey. What's your journey going to be? Who's going to support you through this journey? Now I would like to collect back in all the dreams, and then we're going to talk about maps. Welcome to Geography Lesson Part 1. Say Rod, say Rod, say Rod.
Oh, you're like a great crowd.
Come back again.
Tomorrow. It's all falling apart.
You just do Freddie Mercury here. Okay. Now I want to introduce you to Jakarta. Anyone been to Indonesia, the most beautiful country in the world? I now want to introduce you to having a map and what a map does. So now let's go to a map of Jakarta. Second last chapter before our flight arrives. Free maps in cities and towns are given around hotels and hostels. These places that have these maps, they lie. They lie on a ground around, waiting to be picked up by these tourists who are told to go and explore by a tourism board, by these boundaries that are set. You can go there. It's okay. It's nice. But really in my head, in my heart, I wanted to see the parts that were not approved. I wanted to see the things that weren't the groove. And instead I moved down streets I shouldn't have went because they weren't on the map. But on a map, everything is so flat. White lines navigate you through time to go and see a story. The only time I knew there was a hill was when my legs would walk up these gradients and I'd be knackered, tired, but yet I would climb, as maps would give it over time and adventure. As navigation is an important thing when you're trying to reach your destination. I arrived to Jakarta, to an airport, to then a train station, where I met my friend, a security guard called Nathan. He said, map. I said, yes. I said, hotel. He said, there. I said, walk. He said, smile. Oh, he smiled. I should have then known it would take a while. 2.5 hours later, I was still walking. But But the map in my left hand was not the only thing doing all the talking. Instead, on the left-hand side as I walked, was these mattresses where families lay their head, barely clothed, not on my map, but on the side of the road. As the lights above dimmed as midnight hit, my emotions a mess, my bag heavy, my sweat coming down as I arrived at my hotel. These individuals were not in these white lines on this map I was given, but instead they were in my eyes of things I see. Things I see. Maps can give you an absolute plan, but also give you an opportunity to have no plan, and instead just navigate one foot in front of another. You move. I walked down these maps constantly. Every city I went, like in Sacramento, the letters of the streets are A to Z, 1 to 28. But I'm dyslexic, so it was useless. That was a joke, but I'm dyslexic. It's not a joke. But the most important thing is I explored. I went left and right. So the thing I say is, without these maps, I wouldn't have got to the destination. And I ask you, what is the map that you need for your dream? What is the map that you need for your flight? What is the map you need for your journey that takes off tonight? Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to say goodbye. Give me an awe. Sarcasm's a beautiful thing. If only we had heaters, we could sit here all night. Listen, thank you so much for coming. I'll do the emotional part in a minute. But really, I now want to explore the word of goodbye. Really think about that word, goodbye. We say it so often, don't we, at Tesco? Goodbye. You've just bought a flake or a bottle of water. Goodbye. Or you get on a plane and you say goodbye, bye. It's all the same thing, but it has different meaning. I'm now going to say goodbye to my journey. Goodbye to my journey. It's not over. 3 years later, I'm still dragging it out. But it keeps going. Around the world in 80 minutes. But for me, I want us to really listen to what goodbye truly can mean. Now this is time to say goodbye to the journey. Goodbye. A very complicated word that we say every day at an airport. An airport, we stand and watch our friend leave. They leave for a destination that you're not with. As they stamp the passport, you stand at this plastic barrier. You've hugged a teardrops as you wave, not knowing when hello will be. You see them leave into the atmosphere. They glide. You stand on the ground. Or at events, when you look around, people say goodbye, like the Grand Ole Opry, this musical cathedral in Nashville, where suddenly the melody is in your bones, but they still say goodbye because the chapter is over. But for you, the chapter is never over. Goodbye is just this word. Goodbye is just this thing. This chapter is still being written in your soul, in your heart. My journey was never over. Goodbye can really be something that can make you cry, can make you think, can make you move on to the next thing. Like tonight, I'll say goodbye to each of you. But your dream now begins. When will you sing? When will you sing your dream? When will you sing your journey? From this stage, it's time to write your own page. A page that can take you on an adventure and a journey you've never seen or been on before. Walk out this metaphorical door from this tent and know that the time that you've spent here is time for you to realise your dream. This is your captain speaking. Your captain speaking of this journey, where I say to each of you, take your dream, hold it, but know forever it will be together. With each dream that you write, that you wrote, this note is in this box in your heart. So tonight, make your dream begin. Thank you very much for coming on the journey. Thank you very much. Oh, you can come again. I won't be here, but there you go. Well, that's the longest applause I've had. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm just cautious. I'm so over with time. Sean likes it. Sean's heard every show that I've done. That was all right. To the bar. My name's Matthew. As I've said, I'm actually not a performer. This is the first time I've ever performed on a stage. I am a PhD researcher, a lecturer. I'm not a performer one bit. I took a risk and I done it. In 2019, as I said, when I went around, I'm sorry, I'm looking for something. When I went round the journey, I wrote the book. This was draft one. Draft one, here it is. That was 350,000 words. Draft two, that was 290,000 words. And at the back of the room, I have the book. The book is Around the World in 80 Events. And tonight, it's on special offer. Give me a new. £10. But the journey for tonight, we are part of the Free Fringe. This is my last show, by the way, so that's me. I'm done. Give me an aw. Oh, I'm delighted. But this is me. I'm done. I've shared my dream with hundreds of people, which has just been a great honour. And I really appreciate each of you sitting here. We wouldn't have heard anything inside. Nothing, because of the way the stages are. So I'm so glad that you wore a jacket tonight. But really, we are part of the Free Fringe, which means that I'll be standing at the back with a bucket, as tradition, and also a card machine. Of course, we live in 2022. If you'd like to put a few pound in, if you'd like to buy the book, there's £10 and I'll sign it. If you don't want to put anything, please don't feel obliged, okay? I literally do mean this. I will not, don't worry, there's no repercussions. I won't be mad. I just want you to say goodbye, okay? So make sure you say goodbye to me, and then I'll sing at you. And then I'll chase you. And I live from Glasgow, so I can run. But thank you so much for coming. Thank you to the ones that I don't know, for the ones I dragged here, and for the ones I do know, that have seen the show multiple times. But thank you to all of you, and thank you for allowing me to be on this stage. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have put on a show. So thank you, and the journey is now complete. Thank you very much. Good night. Oh, wait. We'll just get a quick selfie. Our last selfie of a show. I do this every show, right? So here we go. Big smiles. Oh, there's too many. 3, 2, 1. Cheese. Cheese.